Hey everybody, this one's kind of a different one this week. I decided to run a half marathon in the half-degree weather that we had here in Colorado. I know it was cold here, but that's nothing compared to what is going on in other places in the country, specifically Texas. So just want to shout out to you guys and say, stay safe. Hopefully everything is working out better this week. And really, guys, we're thinking about you here in Colorado.
Hi, I'm Ryan, just a 41-year-old dad and husband who loves running and loves Disney. This is the story of how I will run the Dopey Challenge 2022 at Walt Disney World.
Hello everyone. I hope everyone stayed warm last week. Here in Colorado, temps dropped to about -9 degrees at one point, and it was cold to say the least. Like so cold that like my bones hurt. My last video talked about things to wear while you're running in the extreme cold, and I kind of took my own advice and forgot some pretty crazy things along the way. I did a half marathon in -2 degrees. My training called for 12 miles, so my long run this week, I figured I could just add 1.1 miles and, have some bragging rights to my friends. Fast forward to Saturday, where the high was expected to be 5 degrees. I started my run around 9:30 a.m. when the temp was a crisp -2 out. I got out of the car and, I was feeling a bit cold in the first couple of miles. I wore a base layer and then I wore my running / North Face jacket on top of that. Wore tights, obviously, with my shorts, because that's what we do with this channel, and some decently warm socks. I didn't think it was all that cold with the layers that I had on, but more on that later. See, the only thing really cold were like my fingers, and every now and then like my face. I tried using a neck gaiter to cover my face and minimize the amount of skin exposed to the cold. The problem was the moisture in my breath that would end up freezing the gaiter. It was creating like a hard to breathe in condition, so that wasn't the biggest issue though, by far. Come mile 4, I started to really get into the run and found that I wasn't as cold as I had initially thought. My fingers, my toes felt really warm, and my body was starting to sweat, and that is the issue. I'm going to admit this. I'm a sweater. Unfortunately, God blessed me with a body that just sweats a lot when I run. So I have to be careful to stay hydrated, get those electrolytes in, and make sure that when I sweat out all that stuff, I'm replenishing it. Normally, I run with 2 soft flasks, one with a water and the other one with a sports drink to keep hydrated. This run, I went out with 2 bottles of water, 2 flasks of water, which promptly froze around mile 5. I also started to feel some coldness around my midsection and kind of hurt. I was like, what is going on here? This is whatever. So I just kept like rubbing to see if it would just warm up. Turns out that sweat mixed with sub-zero temps equals freezing. You can see in some of my footage that the cap that I wore was really frozen over right about here, and it turned into like a helmet rather than a cap. The freezing was happening in my midsection, and I really didn't get it until I got back to the car. In my rush to get out the door and do this half, I didn't think of having like a mid layer, like my black jacket under my North Face. So mile 9 started to be really, really uncomfortable. Pressing on though, I knew I only had about 4 miles left, so I started to pick up the pace and I tried my best to be heads down and just get back to the car. Around mile 11, my jacket from all the sweat froze up. Like my arms started to be super stiff. And looking back, you know what? I was not prepared and honestly, probably shouldn't have done it. It might have been dangerous. Made a mistake. The good thing is I picked a route that kept me really close to stores and places that I could pop into if I started to feel way too cold. And I let my wife know exactly where to find me. Also had my phone on the entire time so she could track where I was. Overall, I felt pretty warm until about mile, 10 or 11 when the weather won out over my stubbornness and over my sweat. So what did I learn from this experience? 1, I like running in cold weather, but I have a floor. I was listening to Heather Jurgensen on her YouTube channel, link in the description below, and she was saying she had a temperature floor. She explained that anything under 28 degrees is just not enjoyable for her, and guess what? I totally agree with that. I think my floor is somewhere around probably 13 degrees. But for sure, negative degrees are just not fun to run in. Not to say that it isn't impossible, it's just not fun for me. I learned a bit more about base layers and getting some more proper gear. Normally, I would say that the best gear is the gear you have, but for negative degree weather, I have to say that wool socks, 3 layers, including a better jacket, and better gloves would have probably made this run way more comfortable and runnable without racing myself not to freeze. So, miles this week. Monday, Peloton recovery ride. Tuesday, 3.2 miles. Wednesday was 3.2 miles. Thursday was a rest. Friday was a rest. Saturday was that big 13.3 miles. And then Sunday was a rest. So far in February, I'm at 37.4 miles, which is pretty good for only having about 2 weeks left. I'm still training hard for that damn half marathon there at Cherry Creek Reservoir in Aurora, Colorado on March 7th. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who did the Princess Half Marathon weekend this week. I really hope the cold didn't stop you. I love seeing the smiles and the runs and all the costumes on Instagram and here on YouTube. It's truly inspiring for me to see the dedication and devotion to Run Disney, even though this stupid COVID time. It really does look like there's light at the end of the tunnel coming soon. So hopefully we can all be racing again in person. Meanwhile, thank you again for watching and joining me on this journey. I love the comments, suggestions, and hearing about how all of you are training this year. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, you can follow me on Instagram at GoRunRyanRun. Thanks for sticking with me. Guys, have a great week. Bye.